All right, everyone. It is game three. My high elf fleets against some war demons. So we're going to go into my third game in the Worlds Beyond tournament. So far, I'm 1-1. And let's just get into it. You can watch those previous reports to sort of see how I've done so far. Yeah, game three of the Worlds Beyond tournament. It's a 4-game tournament. So 1,500 points, 5 objectives, and a 4x4 table. Like I said, 1,500 points in 4x4. These games are they're very close range. There's not a lot of really maneuverability. Let's go look at the army lists. So, I've already talked about this before. High Elf Noble with Shield of Grace, Stealth, and Shield Wall. He's running with those Revenants, so he's given those Revenants effectively regen. I've got a 5-man unit of Protectors. I've got the 10-man unit of Revenants with 2 Mirror Scythes. Some Retributors that I've got with the Flicker Shield, so they also have regen, and I'm giving them two close combat weapons, 1 blast, 1 energy sword, along with their shard carbines, 5-man unit of shifters, and that 6-man sort of a pocket pit, 6-man unit of scorchers, all with fusion rifles. For my opponent, this is a War Demon's army and a really good one. He's running a Harbinger that he's got with wings. So these guys are, so everyone is Daemons. He's either scouting or ambushing everything. So this is a squad. He's got some AP4 in the army. It's pretty good. He's then got a Champion of War. He's got that Champion of War running with one of his Blood Warrior units. Got the Blessing of War, so they're going to hit with +1 to hit. So, yeah, this is a really nasty unit. He's running AP4 himself. It's got a nice mix of Rending, AP4, and AP1 in the army. He's then got a Blood Warrior unit with the Banner of War. That's going to give +1 impact on these Blood Warriors. So these Blood Warriors are going to hit really hard. One of the squads is going to be hitting on threes with Furious. So and I love this. We go back. We talked about it before. This is such a really nice little upgrade. He wasn't able. He's only put Banner of War on one of them. But just these units, I'm sorry, he's got Banner of War on 2 of them. So he's got 2 10-man blocks that can just really just murder things. And a very good army. Again, he sort of understands that you've really got to start trading here. 2 3-man units of Beast Riders that he's upgraded with a little bit of Rending is there as well. And then he's got a Cannon Chariot. He's got a nice little bit of shooting in the army, which I like. And I think about this is a really good army in the sense that a lot of hand-to-hand, but he's also got a little bit of shooting there to sort of whittle things down. All right, so let's just look at the setup. So this is just the opponent's army. Really nice-looking Khorne Daemon army as well. Yeah, just great-looking army. All right, so in the board, so one thing where we're setting up here, you can see that there's one objective on the far left. Now, one thing I want to point out here is that I have got to really manage range. So he does, again, he gets to scout up everything. But as he is doing so, he doesn't have a lot of Strider on his units. And so he puts one of those 16-man units on the right. And what I do is I've had my Banshees in that difficult terrain. Because he doesn't have Strider and the Banshees do have Strider, I'm able to sort of kind of cordon off that second unit as well because they can't charge those Banshees. So that's something just to keep in mind as well. I've also sort of positioned my units that so what I've done, as you can kind of see, the only thing I have given him is those Guardians. He can't charge the Banshees because he doesn't have Strider on any of his units other than the flying unit. So I've limited the amount of things that he can hit on turn 1. So the only thing I've given him is those Guardians. So he scouts up his 2 3-man warrior units, and he's got his cannon in the back. Yeah, and you can just sort of see, I use the terrain. The terrain, a lot of in this game, you're going to notice highly leveraging terrain to sort of manage distance. I'm really playing on the fact that he doesn't have a lot of Strider in the army, so I'm going to leverage that to my advantage here. So you can see here as well, there's 2 objectives on my corner of the board. That's what he placed. I actually placed mine on his side. I knew that he was going to have to come to me, and I knew that if he wanted to grab those objectives on his side, he was going to have to wait a turn and endure shooting, and he just couldn't do that. The other thing you're going to notice here, and some of the objectives do get bumped around, but I actually managed to measure those objectives exactly 9 inches apart. Now, you're going to notice in the battlefield later on, they do get bumped around, but we sort of, after the fact, made sure that these things are 9 inches apart. Because I knew that if I could get to his side, I could grab multiple of those objectives. So again, trying to give you a little hints about how you use objectives to your advantage. All right, so this is just another picture of the battlefield. You can see in reserves, he's got his 2 big man units of warriors, and he's got his flying guy as well. So a lot of guys coming in for ambush. Turn 1, the War Disciples do get to go first. So the first thing he does is he goes ahead and just he knows that he's got to start trading, and I have the shooting advantage on him. Goes ahead and just charges those guardians and wipes them out. My Avengers, they move up, and actually they shoot his cannon. So they shoot his cannon. I rolled pretty good. I was able to actually cause 4 wounds, and actually I think 3 or 4 wounds, and I was able to waver the cannon. That's a pretty big deal. I mean, that cannon is stopping him. That basically stops that cannon from any really moving and not grabbing the objectives he may want. So he just goes ahead and unwavers his cannon. That below that's dangerous terrain. So I go ahead and just teleport through the dangerous terrain with my teleport ability, and then just shoot him and go ahead and just finish off that cannon. So the trading game is already beginning. This is another thing, that those Banshees being in difficult terrain and having a 16-inch charge themselves, it stopped him from getting a first turn charge. And the other thing he couldn't do is he couldn't get close to my Banshees. Even though these guys have a 17-inch charge, one of the things those Banshees did is they basically kept his army back. One of the things in this game that I have to do, I have to sort of dance around him and stop him from just one turn combo charging me all at once. So it actually forces his cavalry back. That's going to give me 1 extra turn where I'm not getting charged by everything. So that's the reason he had to do that. You can see those Banshees in the left just doing work, being able to, and that's a key thing. Strider and Fast are such a great combo because you can do things like that. At this point, the 6-man unit of Scorchers just move up, and they basically shoot their Meltas, and they just one-shot this unit. So those Scorchers are already sort of doing their work. Last thing I do is now that he can't charge me, I get out of his charge range. So the Banshees just move out. They also protect those Scorchers. I know he's got a lot of ambushers coming in, so I want to protect those Scorchers. So that's the end of the game. And as you can kind of see here, those Banshees, they kept him off, and then I moved out of the way. So now those guys can't charge me next turn. That's just the battlefield. You can see I'm sort of staying center here. All right, turn 2. The War Demons do get to go first again. And I know I'm going to lose something. He brings in both of his Blood Warrior squad. One he brings in with, this is the +1 to hit, and they both have the impact one. This is his other unit as well. So I knew this was coming in. It's just part of it. And then he also brings in his flying Harbinger in the forest. So again, that's a pretty smart little decision here. And that's just the picture. You can see I'm basically surrounded here. And it's just going to be a trading game from here. At this point, he charges my Banshees. That's 10 impact. Plus, he's got those charges here. He just one-shots all those Banshees, including my leader. So he just wipes them all out, which is expected. I mean, it's really good units. So he then consolidates. That's just his consolidation move. I go ahead. So this dangerous terrain right there in this particular game, I just go ahead and tank the dangerous terrain. Don't roll any ones. And these fire dragons, they move around it, and they then shoot his Harbinger. Again, I'm not worried about the other squad as well. That's on the other left because they can't reach me. Shoot this guy, and then I'm able to wipe out that Harbinger as well. He then moves up his War Beasts just to get them in charge range next time. My Dire Avengers, they just move on to this objective. Again, what I'm doing here is we're sort of changing places now. So I'm going to run towards his objectives and try and grab them on his side at least. Move over here, and then I shoot those Blood Warrior squads, take them down, kill 6 of them, so at least I'm getting those down to a manageable level. He rushes forward his other Blood Warriors. That's a fresh squad. And yeah, that is the end of turn 2. Again, you can see us just trading a lot of wounds, and, both of us have taken severe casualties, and I'm sorry. I've got I'm sorry. This was the one more thing I had to do is I moved those shifters over there, and then they shoot into the 10-man. I managed to do 4 wounds, but that's a really good thing. I've managed to wipe that squad so they don't have +1 to hit anymore. Sorry, and that's the end of the turn where the other thing the shifters are doing, the shifters are sort of protecting those fire dragons. I don't want those beast riders coming in. I'm sort of blocking off. The other thing I'm doing is I'm blocking off from him sort of grabbing objectives. All right, so turn 3. The War Demons do get to go first again. Really scrappy game. So he does get to go first again, yeah, and he just charges the Scorchers and wipes them out as well. He's consolidating a little closer to those objectives, but can't quite get to it. So yeah, at this point, my shifters, I don't want those guys charging my Avengers. So those shifters actually just basically block those War Cavalry from charging them. They then shoot them. I think I do like 4 wounds. So, and again, I've taken these guys down to a bit more manageable level. They go ahead and just charge my shifters. They kill 3 of them. The shifters, they do stick. So that's pretty good. And yeah, now the Avengers basically move forward a little bit. They shoot that other squad. I roll pretty good. Well, I mean, I think I roll decent. I mean, those Avengers can put out a lot of damage. End up killing 8 of them, and I waver them as well. So again, that's where this waiver mitigation is. He's got a lot of quality foreigners units, and those waiver checks are now catching up with him. He then just moves his other leader to grab this objective on there. He can't get it this turn because he doesn't have Strider, so dangerous terrain. I'm sorry, not difficult terrain is blocking him. That's just showing me that, again, my army is getting pretty low on units, but at the very least, I've grabbed that center, and this is my strategy now. I'm just going to now take the last turn to move up, grab those 3 objectives in the center, and try and win. The good thing is that I get a chance to go first. That's just showing his leader. And yeah, turn 4, and the High Elf fleets get to go first because he's killed a lot of my units. So here, yeah, the first thing I do is I just move and I grab all 3 of these objectives. So this one squad, because I placed all the objectives, we measured it out a little afterwards, but yeah. The plan coming to fruition where I'm able to basically grab all 3 objectives. And from there, I shoot those shoot those beefs cav, kill them. His leader moves on to this objective, and finally my shifters, they move to the number 4 objective. And remember, we didn't, this was sort of the game. I mean, his war demons could have unwavered, but they're out of range. But that's really it. I had really one squad of Avengers who really grabbed 3 objectives, and then those shifters grabbed another one. It's a 4-1 victory to the High Fleets. Really, that lack of Strider in his army, it allowed me to really use terrain to my advantage. I really just, the other thing is that High Elf fleets in my army, it played well in the sense that I used my speed to manage range. I'm a close range shooting army. I could a lot of times just dance around him just enough to stay out of charge range when I needed to and able to shoot him down. Just some learning points as well. So shooting armies, one thing I would say, if you're going to play shooting in Grimdark Future especially, you need to have some maneuverability. You have to be able to sort of dance around your opponents. It's a reason that I don't necessarily favor a lot of relentless-based shooting. A lot of times in this game, relentless, it's just, you're not going to be able to take advantage of it because you're going to be moving so often. So I don't prioritize relentless as much. I just think that you need to have a lot of maneuverability. The other thing is, I think, is in this game, use difficult and dangerous terrain to your advantage. When you see an opponent doesn't have Strider on certain units, sort of use that to your advantage. The other thing I would say is, I think his army was a little light on Strider or flying. This is one of the things that makes War Demons not as good. They don't have quite as much Strider as I think they need to. And that is a thing, again, I go back to it. There are some armies that in my own advanced tactics list, I don't rate as high because they don't have access to a lot of Strider on their hand-to-hand units. And that's a big deal. Not having Strider or the ability or flying to ignore terrain on these units is tough. Another thing I didn't do is I didn't ambush my shifters. I had one extra turn where those shifters could shoot. Always keep in mind that ambush, you don't always have to use it. And there are times, especially with demons, I knew that he was going to come straight at me. And I sort of needed every single activation on turn 1 to shoot him. So I didn't ambush those shifters. So keep that in mind for yourself. You don't have to ambush units even if they have them. All right, thanks for watching. Always interested in feedback. Trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. As always, I really appreciate everyone who has subscribed, commented. Hey, I'm trying to collect some analysis on battle reports. If you have any battle reports or any armies that you've done with them, hey, send them my way, just so I can start analyzing them. Thanks a lot, everyone.